July 20th, 2020, and I call the meeting of the Alexander County Board of Commissioners to order. I'm going to call on Commissioner Ronnie Reese for the invocation, and Vice Chairman Larry Yoder will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead, Commissioner Reese.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we ask your blessing on our meeting tonight. Pray that you protect our citizens, our county employees, our EMS, and law enforcement during these perilous times that we're seemingly living in. We pray that you'd remove this pandemic, if it be your will. Give us protection as we try to reopen our economy and our nation and our country and our state, county, and pray for our president, our vice president, governor of the state, and local officials also for wisdom. This I pray in your name. Amen.
Y'all would stand. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners report. Does any of our commissioners have anything they'd like to report on? Nope. Okay. We will move on to the agenda. You have your agenda before you. Is there a motion to approve?
Commissioner Ryan, I do have one thing to point out. Hang on just a second.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
A couple weeks ago, I did tour the DSS facility, and renovations were well underway. And I have seen a couple of photos since then. It looks like it's coming along very nicely. And I want to commend the ones that have actually been heading that up and doing the work out there. And I think a lot of the work's been done by county employees. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes, sir. Yes.
But it does look like it's coming along very nicely. It's a whole lot more inviting from what I've seen thus far, and look forward to the renovations to follow.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. The agenda, is there any deletions, additions, or do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Second the motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, any nays? Motion passes unanimously. First item on the agenda is public comment, and I believe we did have one comment that was submitted. Is that correct, Ms. Sarge?
Just one.
Okay.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Good evening, elected Alexander County Commissioners. My name is Craig McLeod. Once again, I would like to bring to everyone's attention the lack of ordinance and code enforcement on Ridley Ranch Road. This has been done many times at many county meetings and also by follow-up emails and pictures since September 2019. The McLeods were promised a response, and it has not been received from Alexander County on these issues. Last week, I sent another follow-up email to all county commissioners and the planning department on July 13th. The email had recent pictures outlining the immediate need for cleanup of household garbage, abandoned, junked, and untagged, uninspected vehicles. This also includes old tires, miscellaneous junk and debris, and an old rotten camper trailer I was told by a county official over the phone would be removed months back. These are all ongoing code violations. The July 13th email stated there are many untagged, uncollared, unvaccinated, and uncontrolled aggressive dogs running loose for many months located at the Webster property, which I understand is rented to someone listed on the NC Sex Offender Registry with 130 offenses under his criminal belt. At this time, I must remind county officials the property owner is responsible for staying within county code and ordinance compliance. Property owners along Ridley Ranch Road can't go to visit their own property safely without being confronted by aggressive dogs, and criminal acts and must stay in their vehicles or risk possible attack. My own dogs are collared, vaccinated, tagged, and in my control at all times. This is supposed to be the law. Why is it that it appears most residents seem to be in compliance or at least making an effort, and others are merely overlooked and passed by, and legal repercussions don't seem to happen? We can see every day and night on the news which way this country is heading. They are trying to tear our country down. I would like to think these codes and ordinances and laws were put into place to be enforced on all equally. When good people don't stand up for what we all know is right, bad always takes over. It could easily be coming to your neighborhood, as we have seen in Seattle. When it does come to the mayor's house or their leaders, things start happening fast. Thank you for your time tonight, and we pray the commissioners will start standing up for the needs of all Alexander County taxpayers.
Anything else, Ms. Starr?
That's it.
We'll move on to item number 2 on the agenda, which is public hearing, rezoning case 20-2, Frank Ball, and call on Seth Harris, the zoning administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner Mayberry. Hello, everyone else. This is rezoning case 20-2. The applicant is Frank Ball, who is also the CEO of Farmers Oil, Inc. Is currently zoned RA20 residential. Proposed zoning district is HC Highway Commercial. It's currently vacant, but if you're familiar with 90 East between Taylorsville and Hiddenite, there used to be kind of a permanent flea market / yard sale at the site. Some old tables were set up there forever, but anyway, it's pretty well vacant otherwise. Proposed use is a used car sales lot. The size of the tract is 3.06 acres. So the 2008 comprehensive plan does show this use as being commercial, or this property as being commercial. Also, please note that all the uses allowed in highway commercial district should be considered not only the use for which the applicant is applying. Per our usual practice, letters were sent by first-class mail to the property owners within 100 feet, and a sign was posted on the property. Also, a notice was published in the Taylorsville Times. Staff does recommend approval of this request due to the following. The rezoning request is consistent with future land use map in the 2008 comprehensive plan, and is also consistent with the goals and policies adopted in said plan. Secondly, the request will not negatively impact the surrounding area with regard to commercial development. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on July 2nd, and they unanimously recommend approval of the request and mirrored those suggested recommendations above. We have some pictures here. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here's the surrounding zoning districts. You can see lots of RA20 residential, but also there is some light industrial. There's an old industrial building to the north of this property there that you can see in light blue as light industrial. And then a couple of highway commercial properties in the vicinity. Across the road from here is that solar farm that's located on 90 East on the adjacent to the Adams property. And here's an aerial view where you can see the solar farm, and that red roof building is the old industrial building I was talking about. And then to the far left-hand side of the screen is another industrial manufacturing building. Does anybody have any questions?
Or I don't. Anyone else?
So, excuse me, Seth. So business or old business 90 is in front of it. The railroad track goes across the back of it, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. We did not receive any comments from adjoining property owners
All right.
in favor of or opposed to.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I'm good.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request due to the rezoning request is consistent with the future land use map in the 2008 comprehensive plan and also consistent with the goals and policies adopted.
Brian,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt. We need to open a public hearing.
I'm sorry. Yes, we do, don't we? Thank you. I make a motion that we open public hearing.
Second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to open a public hearing? Okay, no. Okay, we are in public hearing. And I don't assume we have anyone else on the Zoom meeting to make a comment. Since this is, Ms. Starnes, since this is a public hearing, can we actually take action on this tonight?
Yeah.
We can, okay.
Just close the public hearing and then take action.
Okay. All right. Is there any more discussion? All right, then I move to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I will make a motion that we approve the rezoning request because it is consistent with the future land use map in the 2008 comprehensive plan. It is also consistent with the goals and policies adopted in the plan and the fact that it should not negatively impact the surrounding with regards to commercial development. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3 on the agenda, which is the water projects progress update. And we have RJ Mosley, which is the engineer with and project manager for McGill and Associates.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me well here. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening. I'm going to share my screen for our update here. Can everybody see that okay?
I cannot.
Nope.
Or
Let's see. Oh, I got to hit one more button. Sorry. How about now? We got a map that you can see there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, so the update I'll provide for you this evening will be pretty brief in general, but feel free to ask any questions that do come to your mind as we talk about things. This map that I've got pulled up here is a map of the original project area. Where the red sections are those newer sections of water line that were bid out almost a year ago now, I think, and project work begun late last fall, and then that work has continued through the winter and then the spring months, and we're getting closer to the completion date at this point, and we'll talk a little bit about the percentage of completion for each of those sections, but basically each of those red areas that you see within the county water system there are the new connections or new extensions of the system that are under construction right now. And I will pause for a second there just to acknowledge that these are sections that are separate from and preceding those which we talked about back in March or April, I think it was, where we were talking about extension of services to a few other, pick up a few other customers. So this is work again that is already designed, bid, and is under construction at this point in time. So overall, the project had 8 areas. I think it is there with work to be done. Buckeye Bridge was the contractor who was submitted a low bid on that project, and they were awarded all of that work as one construction contract. And they started out with 1 crew, and we also added some work by change order to that original contract down in Wittenberg Springs areas. That's the piece you see down here in the further southwest. That was where they focused their attention first, because the county and the city were kind of dealing with a number of main breaks in that subdivision for an existing line that was put in years ago. And so they finished that work to 100% complete. Other than there may be some final grassing restoration type things, or maybe some regrassing, redressing kind of things. As the summers got hot and dry, they may have to come back and touch up a few things there. But essentially that section of the work is now complete. And then about the time they were able to finish working in the Wittenberg Springs neighborhood, they moved one of those crews to another area in town, up on the northern end of the project. And not long after that, they mobilized a second, and then a third crew. And so at this point in time, they are working 3 crews pretty much every day, and are getting more pipe in the ground as they go. Timing wise, the Wittenberg Springs area was the toughest of any of these to put new water line in the ground, because of existing utilities and the developed nature of the neighborhood compared to the more open road shoulders of the rest of the project. But if we look there for a moment, just section by section, this northern area is one that we've kind of lumped all together and given a number. I don't think we have a name there, but it's Zeb Watts, Ned Herman, Liberty Grove. That section is about 78% complete as of July 10th. And they obviously made some more progress last week, but when I put this map together to make sure we got it on the agenda for you guys, that was the date that we were reporting there. Fox Court is another section of the project. It was one of the smaller sections. That was one of those first areas they moved to after moving out of Wittenberg Springs. It is 100% complete at this time. And actually that section of the line has even been tested, and then our certifications submitted for those for that line, and those customers can begin actually connecting to the water system and begin receiving county water and sending revenue back your direction at any point in time now, if not already. The only process there may be left is for the city of Hickory or operational partners to install meters as folks request the service be actually turned on. And then you move a little further down in the county, you got 3 sections of work to be done where we were closing in breaks or holes, if you will, along Tigtown Road. 2 of those areas are actually already underway. The third of those is the one furthest to the west, and it's going to be the toughest because that's the one where we've got to cross the river over there, and so that bridge attachment, they'll probably save that for one of the last pieces. But you see there the other 2 pieces of Tigtown, 2 and 3% complete for those sections as they are on those 2 areas. You look to the south of Tigtown there, you got B&T Lane. that's another area that we expect they're going to wait till the end. It's not been begun yet, so still at 0%. And by comparison, Polly Bowman area is another area that they have begun working in, and they've laid pretty much all of Deal Farm Lane, and then working their way through some other areas in that section. And so overall, that area is 51% complete. And then finally, to jump back over to the west end of the system, there's another loop that they're going to be closing up on Ickard Ridge Road. That section is also not yet started, but it's a shorter section, and we'll move pretty quick once they move to it. So I know that's a good bit of me talking there, and I'm jumping around from area to area. I'll pause there for a moment if there are any questions about anything specific related to the ongoing work for that project.
RJ,
Sir.
What's your estimated completion date for these projects?
Based on their updates from last week, they are about 60% complete.
Okay.
With the footage that they've been getting in lately, I'm going to estimate that they're still probably another 45 to 60 days from being 100% complete through this work.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We've come a long ways.
Yeah, it's amazing how many water lines, if you look at that map, how many have went in the last 15 years. It's a lot. So, okay, gentlemen. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, RJ. We appreciate the update.
Certainly, everyone. I appreciate it as well. I'm going to drop off here, but if any questions do come up after the fact, feel free to shoot them my way. We'll be happy to answer any questions we can.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 4, which is COVID-19 update. We have Leanne Wisnett, Doug Gillespie, and Rick French, and we will start with Leanne, who is the Consolidated Human Services Director. Is she on? I didn't even see her. So.
I am here.
Okay, there you are.
All right. Well, our Alexander County positive case number for today is 221 is what we are at now. Remember, that is a moving target, literally. To give you an example, I think our last, Gary Herman does a great job with our code red messages to the public was last Thursday, and our numbers was 188. And just kind of giving you some time frames of how those positives are coming in. This morning we were at 211, and 10 more came in after 10 o'clock this morning. So now we're at 221. So it certainly is a moving target. We are certainly seeing our numbers rise. We are still very blessed compared to our neighbors. We're still just over 200, and I think Wilkes is the next least of our neighbors that touch us, and they're at 663. So our community is still doing a great job. I appreciate all the efforts, hand washing, social distancing, mask. And I know masks are not fun, but it is making a difference. We this morning had none hospitalized, but now we have one hospitalized, and I am grieved to report our second death. We had one prior, and now we have 2 deaths for Alexander County. We still have 75 quarantined at this time, and 143 fully recovered. We do continue to see our numbers rise, as well as the state. The state numbers is at 101,046 cases. When I looked at the dashboard, that North Carolina, if you'll Google North Carolina COVID dashboard, will give you a wealth of information. There's 1,086 people in North Carolina hospitalized right now. As our code red alert let people know, the governor did extend phase 2 because we were still seeing our numbers rise. We still have capacity in the hospitals, but we don't want to get to where we don't. So he is still being very conservative. Phase 2 is extended until August the 7th. We are testing Monday, Wednesday, Friday for sure, and Tuesday, Thursday as needed. To give you an idea of that testing, it's just demand. If you feel like you need tested, you call the health department at 632-9704, and they will get all your information over the phone, because we're doing that by drive-through to reduce risk of exposure to the health department staff, plus going in the building. Plus it conserves our PPE, or personal protective equipment. Our greatest day of screening, I think, was in the 50s. So some days that's 10, some days it's 20, and sometimes it's as high as 50. So we are doing that purely on demand. So if anybody does need tested, we do have testing supplies. And we're in pretty good shape for our personal protective equipment. Things are definitely becoming a little easier to get. You're able to find hand sanitizer now. We're in good shape with masks. Gowns is probably still the hardest item to keep enough of, but that is where we're at as a county. Anybody have any questions? I do have, while you're thinking of your questions, I'm going to try to share my screen. We're working on, some of y'all are like, ruh-roh, you're not seeing what I want you to be seeing. Let me try that again. Are you seeing situational report?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I'm seeing consolidation behind, so I confused myself. Sorry about that. I can send you anybody. We're putting this on our Facebook, and we're trying to update it as we can. We're still barely surviving. The contact tracing is very time consuming. So for all of those 10 reports that came in just today, you're talking about talking to these individuals an hour or two on the phone and finding out where they've been, where they work. I mean, a tremendous amount of information. Then you're contacting all of the people that we feel like need to be tested that they've been around. Sometimes that's only a few people for household contacts. Sometimes that's a lot of people. So hopefully we can update this weekly, but I want you particularly to see a couple of the slides. I love statistics, and some of y'all do as well. So like for the genders, it's interesting to me that 59.4% is female versus 39.6% male. 1% refused to tell us that, or it was not on the information we were provided, and we're still working on figuring that out. Not that they don't know. And race. Race is 58.3% are white, 18.2% are Hispanic, 2.6 Black, and 1% Asian. Some, again, refuse or don't want to list that, and it goes in the unknown category. Age, I have a lot of people want to know, what age, what is it? With school starting back, there's a lot of concern, and we've been evaluating this, but you'll see we do have some children, 14.1% are 0 to 18, but our majority are definitely in this 35 to 54 age range at almost 30%. The great part is a very small percentages are our 65 plus, which is what we're trying to have. That's our generally your at-risk population, and we're trying to protect them. So they are staying home and being safe for the majority. And I want the other is just our information on how many's in isolation, how many are hospitalized, and our death numbers. So just trying to provide the public with a little different data. I like very visual, so our health educator, Maria Marlowe, provided that, and I think she did a great job. And hopefully she can keep that updated at least weekly, maybe more often if our, depending on what our numbers do. So now I'm up to questions.
Leanne,
Yes,
was 76 active cases total currently?
we have 75 in quarantine.
How about the one in the hospital? Are they still active?
They are, yes. That's where you got 76. I'm like,
It is.
okay.
Leanne, are you done, Marty?
Yeah, go ahead.
Leanne, we've got about a 1% death rate if we've had 2 die out of 221 cases. Is that about, what we're seeing statewide? And also the rate of infection seemed to be going down from your graph. Is that a trend that's also following statewide?
That trend is. We can ask Doug for that statistic on the death, because I'm not sure what the death, he loves all that and keeps up with it, but that is the trend for the state. We're definitely seeing more testing. So when you test more, you're going to find more positives. But if you look at that graph, which gives you a little better picture, it is trending down. Also, our hospitalizations statewide and deaths are trending down, which is both good things. So, but I do understand that conservative. I think the governor's conservative approach is to try to let school start as well. He certainly doesn't want to see numbers increase. While we were still seeing a lot of positives, he was afraid to go to that next step. But yes, we are very similar to the state trends.
What about the antibodies test and reinfections? So people that have tested positive one time and then get sick later and test positive again, or is that something you're seeing?
We are not. I'm not aware of any for our county, and I'm not aware of any in North Carolina. I'm sure they're tracking that, but now as far as antibody testing and some of the new tests, still hearing mixed information. Some of the rapid tests, I'm still hearing people may have a rapid test and have a test here, and then on the third test, they're positive finally. I even today heard a story where the person had tested negative several times, still had all the symptoms and felt like they had COVID. So, and that is possible. There are no tests that are 100%. I mean, there's, and if you're doing the rapid tests, you're probably going to get false negatives. You're not going to get false positives. You're going to get false negatives. So, and I think sometimes that's testing too soon. You've got to let your body have time to actually become positive. So let's say I was exposed today to somebody with COVID and I went and tested today. I'm probably not going to test positive. It's going to take 2 to 7 days. Well, that 2 to 7 is a pretty good variable. It might be 2 for somebody and it might be 7 for the other person. So, that's some of the differences and that's some of the challenges. But we are not, the state has still not offered an antigen test at this point, or an antibody test. Sorry, we do have an antigen test. The test we're doing, and at one point we were getting tests back in 2 or 3 days. Over the 4th of July, we ranged anywhere from 3 to the worst case scenario, and it was terrible because I kept telling the person, I'm sorry, we were looking every few hours for this person's test. It took 12 days to get that test back. We have no control once we send those tests to private labs. They're sending them to subcontractors because everybody is so overwhelmed across the United States. So those tests are going, we've had some sent to California and Virginia and Tennessee just to try to get them back quick. But they are coming back a little quicker this week, but right after the 4th of July, it was taking a long time to get your test results. The person actually was tested and was past the 14-day quarantine before we even got their test back. So we hate that happens, but again, it's out of our control. So testing is still a work in progress.
I am aware, Leanne, I am aware of someone that did test positive twice.
And that can definitely happen. As far as testing positive twice, they probably were still positive. It probably wasn't a new infection. They were just still submitting a positive test. I don't think
but it was about a month between tests.
And we have heard of that happening. You know, why some people do and some don't. I still think it was probably that same infection. I don't think they probably had it twice. Now, and I probably don't think they were contagious, but you know, we're still learning. So, and there's all kinds of unusual situations out there. So what would be interesting is if we knew how long that person was really contagious. They might even still test. If we tested them again a week or two later, they might still be positive.
Mm-hmm. And too, I'll interject. We did get 2 today that had initially been positive, and then a couple weeks later come back positive again. And so the state's recognizing that if they're 12 weeks out or closer, they're not considering that a new disease process. They're considering that part of that same disease. So they're not classifying that as, and like Leanne said, it's changing. Our guidances are changing almost weekly, and we're trying to keep up with that. But on the last conference that was told that we had last Wednesday, it was 12 weeks or less. They're not considering that a new case.
Wow. Okay. So
I have a question. I'll go.
I was just going to say, then. Well, I don't want to ask that question and get things stirred up. So go ahead.
Well, I don't know if I should ask my question then. Due to the issues with the schools and opening, not opening, do either three of you have your thoughts on that at the moment? Or is that a fair question or not?
It's a fair question. We actually met with school personnel today. I can tell you they have a huge challenge ahead of them. We spent hours trying to help and problem solve before it actually happens. You know, I don't think there's a good answer. You know, I think it's scary for parents. It's scary for personnel. I think they're working on the best and safest plan possible. You know, there are so many challenges. It's just unreal. And those challenges don't have a perfect answer. You know, they're wanting to take temperatures before children get on the bus. Well, one of the hardest scenarios is what if those 2 students are waiting on the bus, the parents have left for work, an older sibling is there, so the, you know, kindergartner's not left alone waiting on the bus. The older sibling is fine, temperature's normal, they can get on the bus. The 5-year-old has a temperature. What does the bus driver do? You know, you can't leave this child standing on the side of the road, certainly. How long is it going to take to get a parent back to pick up that child? I mean, you know, it's like, okay, is that a DSS issue? No, because that's not neglect or harm or, you know, I mean, the parent left for work. You know, the child was expected to get on the bus and go to school. You know, I think I'm fine with students being in school. I think we've got a great plan. I think they're doing social distancing. We're going to use masks. We've talked about, you know, temperature checking when they get to school, isolating them if they become ill at school, how they do that. space issues. Is it going to be perfect? No, there is no perfect. Are we going to have cases? I'm sure we will. They have a hard job, you know, even keeping their staff safe. If their staff become ill from students, you know, when will we run out of substitutes and staff for teaching? So lots of, just like we worried about county employees, you know, I also worry about these students that are going to be in school 2 days and home 3 days. And for some of our county employees, that's something we're going to have to really work on, is childcare. You know, I feel like a lot of our students are safer at school, even with COVID. I talked around that really good, didn't I, Marty?
You did, but
I mean,
I do
you know,
agree. I do agree with the last statement. I do unfortunately feel the same way, that there are some kids in our community that were probably safer at school with COVID than in their own home.
Mm-hmm. And you know, they're going to be fed, and an adult set of eyes in case something's happening in the home that maybe we need to know about. I put on my DSS hat then, so it's a very difficult time for lots of scenarios, for parents, for teachers, for us and for employers. You know, those employers need their employees back at work.
That's true. Well, it's going to be a tough road. So I'm glad you're helping the school system folks as much as you can. And I would not want to be in their shoes right now. I know they've got a tough job. So we'll try to help them any way we can.
And they don't have a lot of time to really get ready. We talked about, you know, maybe having a sick spot on the bus too, so we could segregate those students, but that's a lot of buses to get plexiglass or whatever they decide to put up as a barrier up. So I didn't realize there was 60 some buses. So, and you've got 10 months employees that didn't come back to work yet. So it's they definitely are stressed, along with the rest of us, right?
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Doug, do you have anything to add?
Just for that percentage that you were looking at for the death with in North Carolina, you're at 1.64% right now through this July 20th. We're actually seeing a pretty significant uptake in call volume here in EMS, and of course we're seeing a lot of, wouldn't say a lot, but we're seeing quite a few amount of COVID patients or possible COVID positive patients. And I've been working with Billy and Emily Vick to confirm that. One of the other things is we're seeing some of our employees having to get tested. And that's something that I'm concerned with because like Leanne said a minute ago, it took 14 days for one to get the results back. Well, that's about 3 shifts that I have don't have that employee that they're capable of working. So that's one of the things we're working with right now, and we're looking at different ways. So that's basically about it. And I'm not going to answer any questions about the school. I know Leanne and Billy have been working hard on that, so I'm going to let them have that.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question I'd like to ask these ladies. How is the tracking going, and whether tracking or tracing? How is that going? I know you said it took up about 2 hours. And are you getting a pretty good response from the folks, or do they feel like they're getting a phone call that they need to hang up on? How's that going?
I'm going to let Billy handle that one. She's been working hard weekends. I'll tell you, I have to commend all of our county employee staff, but the health department staff, people don't realize, you know, putting on all that personal protective equipment and standing out in the heat for, you know, a long time, they, you know, they're drenched and a lot of times have to totally change clothes. And we moved the time down to in the morning to try to help with some of that heat, move where we're testing a little bit. So we've been learning, but I'll let Billy field some of those. She's on the front lines with that.
Yeah, when we call, it's about a 9-page document that we go through for one case. And when we go through that, I was telling somebody the other day, we almost asked even down to your eye color. That's how in depth it is. And I'm joking on that one, but it is a lot of questions. And you know, some people are willing to sit there and answer all those questions, and then we've got some they don't want to answer the questions. They don't want to tell us who their contacts are. So it is trying to educate during the phone call of the importance of giving us that information. Lots of things that we can link together, and some, you know, we can sit there and we can plot them, and you just can't say where they got it. So it is a very time-consuming effort on whoever's doing the phone calls. We've actually trained some other staff members to help us out, because Emily, Vic, and I are the only two that actually can be allowed in NCEDS, which is the state database, and so we're having to plug all those in. So it was too much for she and I to do, and so we trained some other of our staff to be able to do the phone calls, go through that process, and then we data entry those. So it's very time consuming.
Thank you.
Mr. French, have you heard any, I want to ask if you've heard anything about the state releasing the CARES Act funds that's coming back to the, or to be coming to the counties?
Yes, there's another 4% that we'll receive, but that's all.
So I'll have to say, since we're talking about COVID-19, this was the CARES Act, which was the relief package that went out from the federal government a couple months ago, and how disappointed I am in the Republican Senate and the Republican House of North Carolina. Senator Phil Berger and the Speaker of the House, Tim Moore, along with the governor, have basically seized $2 billion that was supposed to go to the 100 county or 96 counties in North Carolina, Alexander County being one of them. The four largest, which is Wake County, Mecklenburg County, and then can't remember the other two.
Raleigh, Durham, Wake County.
Okay. So those four got direct funding, but the other 96, the money was supposed to flow from the state to the counties, and they have seized that money to fill in their own budgets. So just know that. Very disappointing.
We are too. I don't have anything to report. As you know, I'm just getting back in the swing of things. So
yes, Mr. French has been out for some surgery, so glad to see you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
Everybody wear a mask. Stay safe. 6 feet makes a difference.
Okay. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Doug. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda. Approval to serve alcohol beginning at 10 a.m. on Sundays. We've had a request from a local restaurant to be able to serve alcohol at 10 a.m. On Sunday because they want to start serving brunch. And I'm going to read the letter that they sent. This is from the Vault, which is just opened up a month or two, couple months ago in Bethlehem. Honorable Ryan Mayberry, Chairman, and Alexander County Board of Commissioners. The subject, permission to serve alcohol beginning at 10 a.m. on Sunday. My business partners and I respectfully request Alexander County's permission to serve alcohol at the Vault Restaurant in Bethlehem beginning at 10 a.m. on Sunday. The North Carolina ABC Commission has informed us Alexander County must adopt an ordinance allowing establishments with permits issued by the ABC Commission to begin serving at 10 a.m. on Sunday. It is our understanding the North Carolina General Assembly gave cities and counties the authority to allow these hours of alcohol sales in 2017. We hope Alexander County will assist local commercial establishments by adopting the required ordinance. Thank you for we appreciate your consideration. This is something that the North Carolina General Assembly has given cities, counties the authority to implement. I think I've looked and there's approximately 25% of North Carolina counties do allow brunch sales. And that's about all the information I have. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Or
Mr. Chairman, one thing to point out tonight, if you do approve this, does not mean that any business can automatically start selling alcohol at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Their license through the ABC Commission has to be changed before they can start, and the town has to do their own thing too. So it doesn't automatically happen. They have to do something on their end.
So basically, it doesn't affect anything in the town. This is only for the county, and we've got a couple restaurants.
But they have to, it's on them to do it. I mean, that just because if you approve something tonight, it doesn't automatically happen.
Okay. I know Catawba County does have this. Does anyone know if any of the other surrounding counties do?
I don't know.
I'm not really sure.
I don't know whether Iredell does or not. I'm not positive.
If I were guessing, I would say they probably do with the lake.
Especially down there on the lake and in the Mooresville area, it's all these things they have in that area.
Okay. Did we have any comments or anything? I haven't really. I've talked around people and really haven't had any negative comments. So
the only comments I've heard is people, would like to see it happen. That's the only comments I've heard.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve the request from the vault at this time.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll make a second. Okay, do we have any more discussion? Okay, there being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda, which is county sales tax revenues for 2019-2020 budget year. Call on Rick French, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're going to find this hard to believe that we're actually running a little bit ahead on regular sales tax in the county. We've collected a little over $4.4 million. We budgeted $5.155 million. We've collected 85.52%, and 83% of the year has expired. Comparing just the regular sales tax, year to date, we are 10% ahead of last year. The new sales tax is a little closer. We have collected $1,357,000 out of a $1.6 million that was budgeted for the new sales tax. And the new sales tax is something that can only be used for economic development, public education, and community colleges. And that is 6.98%, almost 7% higher than last year. So That's encouraging. The numbers are higher, but again, that's our numbers to the end of March. So we got the big months ahead, but we may be surprised. So I just want to give you that update.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if we could break that down on how much sales tax is coming in off of toilet paper. So,
Might be.
Oh, man.
And those,
the way that and paper towels sold out.
yeah, wherever it comes from, that's good numbers. I thought it might have been up some, but I guess a lot of people are, buying within the county or were during that time. So,
Yeah.
so that's be interesting to see how it pans out.
We still got a lot of people shopping in town. I mean, they're still staying here and doing their thing and not traveling out of town to do anything. So that's other than for vacation, I think they're doing real well.
Well, and we can see it does make a difference. These numbers here are showing that. So,
Right. It's encouraging.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a little bit of good news. So, all right. Thank you, Mr. French. And we will go on to budget ordinance amendments number 1 and number 2. So, calling Rick French, County Manager.
Thank you, sir. Budget amendment number 1 is to decrease the planning department budget revenues to match the approved fiscal year 2021 contract for the county to provide planning and zoning services to the town. And budget amendment number 2 is to increase detention budget for revenue reimbursement from the PayPal communications to pay for software upgrade to inmate telephone service program. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions, but it's pretty routine.
Questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve budget ordinance amendments number 1 and number 2 as stated.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 8 on the agenda, County Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not have anything to report. I have a few things for closed session, but that's all.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I can't see all of you on the screen at the same time, so I have to call for a voice vote. Do you guys want to take a 3-minute break, or do you want to go on to move into the consolidated human services? I need a break. A drink. Okay, we're good. All right, then we will move into the, I guess, Jamie, do I need to make a motion on this? Can't remember.
You don't have to. We haven't been. You've just been transitioning directly into
Okay. All right, then we'll just go on into the Consolidated Human Services Board meeting. And let me find my paperwork. Okay. Do we have any public comments for the Consolidated Human Services Board?
No, I don't have any.
Nope. All right. Then we will move on to item number 3, which is the Public Health State of the County Health Update.
And Billy Walker, our Assistant Health Director, is going to provide you with that public health update tonight.
Okay.
Screen, so let me know when you see Should say Consolidated Human Services Public, oh, sorry. Should say the 2019 State of the County Health Report. Do y'all see that?
I can't see it now.
It's coming through.
There it is.
Okay, so I had told you last time that when I presented that we do a community health assessment, and we do that every 4 years. So during that interim 3 years, we have to also submit what the state calls a State of the County Health Report, and we call that a SOTCH. So you see that in parentheses. So this tracks just the priority issues that have been identified in the community health assessment. It identifies any emerging issues that are coming about, and it highlights new initiatives. So this just gives you a screenshot of leading cause of death between 2016 and 2018. And you see they're similar as far as cancer and the diseases of the heart, but then from one year to the next, Alzheimer's, it had been on there for years, and it sort of had gone down on the graph, and so chronic lower respiratory disease had moved up. So we are a year behind on data, so we haven't gotten all the data for 2019, and we should be seeing it come in. Although with COVID, I'm not sure if the state will do that in the fall or if it'll be pushed back since they're dealing with COVID as well. So if you look at how we're going to progress towards our priorities, this was taken from the 2018 Community Health Assessment. And so we have a task force that's called the Healthy Alexandrians Task Force. And they selected a title for the overall health of the population. So they're calling that the Healthy Lifestyles. So that you'll hear that referred to as healthy lifestyles, what they're working on. The health department staff also are active members with the local Safe Kids Coalition, and that is to reduce the child mortality and the issues or injuries by educating the families. And they were able to write a grant and be able to give bicycle helmets to the children. So that was a good initiative. In 2019, the health department collaborated with Alexander County Cooperative Extension, and they implemented the Faithful Families. And this was to recognize that the faith of the community plays a large role in supporting our community health and decreasing health disparities. And you'll see that through the Goodnight Community Helpers and some of the places that are now available where they can go and get food. So another neat thing, you'll see the colorful picture. This is called Speedway to Healthy, and it's actually an interactive, they come and they set it up, and it's different parts of the body, and you walk through it. The children can walk through it and see how the body works with the food that we put in it or the exercise that we do. So that was really neat to work alongside with them. And this was with the Alexander County Health Department, the Cooperative Extension, and the Partnership for Children, and then NC State, A&T State University put that on. And it's really neat. That's the second year we've done this. So then we're going to move to what we're working on now. And so mental health is a huge issue. You know, it was when we put this together. I think we're going to see a huge rise in this as well due to COVID. So this is one that we're really going to be hitting hard with. And I think our behavioral health, I'm going to talk about it in a little while, but I think it's going to be very helpful for our community. So this is the first focus area selected for our 2018 health assessment was mental health. And it was chosen as well in 2014. So we have seen, as you look at the graph, you've seen the incline of the suicide rate for Alexander County, and North Carolina is in orange. So they're both on the upward tick there. Substance abuse, the vaping, that was huge. It was epidemic proportions as well. We saw kids having really bad issues with vaping, and even some deaths in the state and across the U.S. So this is a huge big deal, and education and letting parents know, some parents don't even know what the vapes look like. So just trying to get the awareness out there is huge. It says from 2011 to 2017, vaping in North Carolina increased among the high school students by 900%. It says to address the growing concern of vaping among the teenagers in Alexander County, we partnered with the school system, and we did the Catch My Breath. And so what we did was we took the vapes or whatever they were using, and they had gotten them taken away at school. We sent them off, so we were able to get some data to the state with those. Emerging issues, vehicle deaths are on the rise again. They had actually been on the decline, and now we see them coming back up. So that's something we really need to watch the trends there. Alzheimer's disease, it is an up and down trend. We have had it on our radar for a long time. So really education and early interventions pretty much is the way to help that. Just making family members who take care of their elderly population, parents, just sitters, just making them aware of things to look for, and maybe getting them to a doctor and having preventive medicine before will maybe help that. I'm also going to talk about new changes with the consolidation and the progress we've made since we consolidated. So in May of 2019, the health department, we were able to expand our clinic rooms from 2 to 5 rooms. And I'm not sure if people have been in, COVID sort of hit us. So we've really not had a lot of people in, trying to limit our population that's in there. But if you have been, you can see that we've made a huge, just a major increase in what we're able to do as far as different departments. We've added a new WIC department where they used to have to wait on lab. They don't. They're in their own department. They have their own lab area. And so they're able to just see patient after patient, and it doesn't matter what our clinics are doing. And so we also made a immunization room to where if you're just there for immunizations, you don't have to sit and have to wait and then come through the clinic rooms to where people may be there for a sick visit. We're getting you right into the immunization area and out. So that's been great. In 2019, in July of 2019, we voted to consolidate. And so Leanne was made to be in charge of not only the health department, but the senior center and the social services. So it's been a good transition, I think, from my end, just being able to work with DSS and, seeing what they do in-house and then seeing what we do in-house. And we're able to collaborate with some of those programs that work hand in hand together, that we can be a resource to each other. So I think it's been a great thing for the county. You can find the report that I talked about, the state of the county, the SART, or the state of the county health report. You can find that at Alexander County, alexanderhealth.org, or you can ask us you can come in and ask for it, or call us on the phone. We can send those out. We can send links to those. We also put them at the Alexander County Library in Taylorsville, Bethlehem, and Stony Point, and the administrative building. I'm going to talk a little bit about behavioral health. It's I mentioned that during this time we're you know, you're going to have lots of issues with from small kids to the elderly with COVID. I've heard several parents who have kids, and it was surprising to me that they're moms of boys, and those boys are missing the being in a classroom with their friends, and I don't think we know exactly what's going on in their little minds, because they don't understand why they were going to school one day and then they didn't get to go back at all. And some of them didn't really understand the Zoom part of that being, you know, just wasn't the interaction. And so a mom was telling me a couple weeks ago that her son seemed very withdrawn and just not as happy go, you know, just free like he was. And she said, I really think he's missing going to school. And even though he would have never said that before, she said, he's just not the same. And she said, I really think it's the school and, or missing the school. And I think, you know, even our elderly population, we've had some that have missed going to church and being part of the senior center. That's something that they look forward to, and those have been cut off. And you know, we're trying to keep them safe, but still putting us in their shoes and maybe being alone, and that was their out, you know, that was their people, their place of connection with people. And so I think we're going to see a lot of depression and people who are having some anxiety. And so I wanted to update you on the behavioral health part of our new addition. She has done 12 assessments, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but those are 2 to 3 hour appointments. And so she's done a great job. Her name's Ashley Moritz, and she's come in running. She'll stay a little longer with her patients, and you know, it's more one-on-one than what they would get going other places. So we had 8 currently active clients, and they come for 1 hour weekly or bi-monthly sessions. We've had 2 outside medication management referrals, and we're offering telepsych appointments if needed and they can't get out. So this has been something that has really opened my eyes to behavioral health. And, you know, we've all talked about it for years, and we've wanted this. And we had 2 situations where we actually felt like that this program saved two individuals' lives. And, you know, that's worth it, just to hear those, being able to get them help and get them to where they need to be to get extensive help is what we're here for. So that was, I definitely wanted to give a shout out to our behavioral health. The next thing is we have a new mid-level provider. She's a PA. She came to us July 13th, and she's a physician's assistant. And so her name is Lauren Hall. She's local. She's going to be providing care to our population, and she's going to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 12, and then with off at lunch, and then 1 to 5. So we've had providers in the past, and just never somebody that's all the time, you know, Monday through Friday. And so we're hoping that this will also assist us to see more of our employee health and women's health, child health, and all the other programs that we see here at the health department. That's all I have. But if y'all have any questions.
Do I have any? Anyone else?
No, good report. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, we'll move right into social services with Linda Clements, our assistant DSS director.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm also going to attempt to share my screen here, see if I can get it to, oh, wrong one. Okay, an update on, according to the agenda, what we are going to talk about today. We have a couple of items related to human services. First thing, whoops. I'm sorry, way out of line here. I didn't get myself lined up, excuse me. Here we go. First thing is talking about kind of an update where we are related to our response to COVID-19. Just wanted to let everyone know we've recently installed a drop box out front. We had a number of clients that needed to provide us information, and we closed at 5, and it was a little frustrating for them to not be able to get that information. So that is now there out front with a little bit of sign about how things will be actually stamped as accepted the following business day. Also wanted to talk a little bit about the volume of applications we've had and how DSS has been impacted by COVID. First area is around CPS. The number of intake reports with concerns about children has dropped about 40%. We're quite concerned. And we believe that's pretty much tied to the fact that schools are closed, and schools, as one of our primary reporters, aren't having that daily interaction with children. Although the number of reports have gone down, it really hasn't translated to the other parts of child welfare services. We still have essentially the same number of in-home and foster care cases. It's been somewhat of a challenge, especially with foster care. As you know, the court is just recently reopened, so we had to stay in compliance with previous court orders and still maintain contact with all the children and have visits. We did a lot of that by Zoom when we were able to get consent from all the parties. In fact, it was pretty much all by Zoom for a couple months there. We are now back to having in-person visits at the DSS. Economic services, as it was really up and down. The percent went up overall, but not by as much as anticipated, with the expectation that people not getting, losing their employment or not having their normal means of maybe getting support, that the number of food stamp and Medicaid applications would have gone up significantly, but they actually varied all over the place. We went up for Medicaid in February about 31%, but then dropped 17% in March and even more in April. So that we really maintained a very consistent number. We were probably maybe up a couple percent in Medicaid. Food stamps was also, the food stamp and nutrition program was about the same. February went up about 9%, but we actually dropped in March. Then we went up in April about 60% and then dropped again in May. So we were average there, maybe up about 5% during this time. The big hit for as far as a real increase in services was for our adult disabled and senior citizens. Our home delivered meals in June and July are almost quadruple what we had been doing the same period of time last year. A good part of that was because we've got additional funding from the block grant, and we're able to take, especially at home delivered meals, shelf stable meals that could get them through the weekend. Leanne earlier talked about the work to keep our older citizens from being exposed and so higher risk. So by being able to increase and give these shelf stable meals, we were able to help them avoid grocery shopping and getting a whole lot of exposure that we could help them avoid. The other main thing I wanted to just give a quick update on is service recertification. Had been on hold. Most of our services, food stamps, Medicaid, daycare, all require a recertification or review of a case every 6 months. Now that period varies by some programs. 6 months is pretty much the normal, but due to COVID-19 and the impact on clients, changing income level, and many other things, the federal and state government put on hold the need for recertification. So for a number of months there, we were going online and just automatically approving so that there was no disruption in service for clients in these areas. But that hold has stopped effective this new fiscal year. We are now picking up recertifications. And so our workload is going to be returning to normal. What we did, and I'll talk about that a little later, is we found some other projects while recertifications were on hold. So we kept staff very active even when they didn't have recertifications needed. Any questions about some of that? That makes sense? Maybe not.
Are you having a hard time getting the meals delivered to the seniors?
No, it's gone fairly well. We originally had some challenges in making sure we had appropriate masks and gear for all of our volunteers and staff. And so the first month or two was just getting coordinated and getting a new system for sorting all those meals from our vendors. But once we got that figured out in February and March, it's gone pretty smoothly.
Very good. Thank you.
The next area to give an update on is our projects that we've initiated in DSS to make improvements in how we operate. We all do, I guess, have many opportunities for improvement. We've decided to focus in these three areas right now. The first two projects are QA projects, meaning in that we are looking at data and trying to collect and information about why things are the way they are and kind of research alternatives and make improvements. So the first one of those, the quality team, is in regards to employee retention. Our focus on that is looking at the hiring process and how we orient employees. We've got a lot of feedback that people felt like they didn't get all the support and training in that early period that could have supported them to get a better start and to feel more comfortable and confident in their work. The first meeting of this group was on June 16th. To date, they've gotten exit interviews from HR, discussed reasons for turnover. They have identified the intent to do stay interviews with the employees that are here to find out why people are staying. And they have started collecting of material to go in this new orientation packet for new employees, but there's still quite a bit of work to go. The second one of our quality improvement team is one around DSS and the value that the community can see of what we're getting there. So it's kind of it's an awareness and understanding of what we do and making sure that we're doing that with a improved customer focus. That group had their first meeting on the 23rd, and they're getting a little slower start. We are trying to look at just making sure even everyone in DSS knows what each other is doing. So as we represent ourselves in the community, we're stronger there. But we've got a lot of work to still develop what that team's gonna focus on. The last area here is not really a team. It's Christine Ward is our program integrity worker, and she's also our safety initiative worker, and she is working with David Kane and others on our emergency action plan, which hasn't been updated since around 2006. So it has a lot of opportunities for improvement. We haven't had a fire drill since I've worked here. We've got some opportunity to make sure we all understand what to do if an emergency happens, if there's a situation with a client or a need for evacuation, make sure we do have that clearly understood by all staff here and how they take care of any clients that might be in the building at the time. And the last thing I was going to discuss a little bit is our record storage. I think Commissioner Pennell earlier talked about the progress we're making with getting the building upgraded and much more usable and effective and better for our community. And one of the things that has helped us do that is making progress in reducing records that are on site and taking up space that we can be using more effectively. This is the one area that we did put people to work when recertifications were on hold for a couple months. We had staff taking a lot of our files, scanning them in, putting them in electronic format so we could save them, so we could box up files and move them off site. So that is where we use their time. As I said earlier, that is not an opportunity right now because they're getting back into a full normal caseload. But it was really timely and effective, even though that didn't happen the way we would necessarily want it to be able to make our space more useful here. We have at this point pretty much filled up the storage facility at Stony Point. We are looking at another space. I believe Doug Gillespie is helping us find another location for additional storage. So that's kind of short term. We've got that in progress. We're going to continue to scan and do that, but we still have the opportunity that we need a better retention policy. The health department, I believe, has already put in place a record retention system that meets the state's requirements to make sure we have backups and we have offsite storage that meets all the requirements and retention. And we really need to update what we do in social services and look more at a longer term plan on how we can improve some of our electronic storage that makes it available to our staff when needed. And that's what I had for an update at this time. Any questions?
How much?
It's gone now.
That's, I'm not even sure how to answer that. I should have been more prepared for that question. I know that we have worked with maintenance and they have at least a dozen different days taken boxes and boxes. So I'm not sure. Leanne, you might even have a better answer for that. Do you know an idea of what the volume of records we moved offsite is?
I really do not. I think, like Linda said, they've made multiple trips and we've filled up the entire space that we had available at the Stony Point location. So my guess is hundreds. It's a lot. It's a tremendous amount. I mean, it was, I don't think there have been no efforts to do anything electronic until this year. And so it is a tremendous amount. And we still have a lot of records at DSS still. So it's a huge undertaking, but I don't have an exact number. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, are things flowing a little easier now, even with the COVID-19?
As far as the
I think that's Leanne for all of DSS, I guess, what I'm asking.
Linda is doing a marvelous job, and we are. You know, we've come a long way. I love Linda's attitude of we've got areas for improvement, and we always will. But you know, instead of seeing that as a negative, that's a positive. So it is our employees. We're getting better feedback from them. We've got so many areas we've improved. I think people are really at a much better place.
Yeah, that's good to hear. All right. Anything else, anyone? Okay, can we just move into the budget update?
All right. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Billy. I am not going to show you that on a slide. I just wanted to provide for your information the last page in your packet. It's actually kind of a spreadsheet for your information only. At the bottom, I always try to give the when I had a Board of Health, I'd always kind of try to consolidate and give them a snapshot of where our budget ended for last year. And so that's what I'm doing for you. If you want things done differently, just let me know. But in a nutshell, the health department budget, and this is not 13 months, so we will still be charging back some late invoices and things, but it's still pretty good ballpark to look at. Well, if you'd like to see it again when it's finalized at the next board meeting, I'd be happy to provide that. But the county appropriations was under budget for health by almost $300,000. For DSS, it was over $900,000. And the senior center was under budget by almost 33,000. So all three programs came in under budget, and so we're very proud of that. And I was worried because of COVID, and we weren't seeing as many patients for the health department, and lots of funding streams were changed. I was very anxious to see that. So, and y'all that know me that have been on other boards, I pride myself in trying to stay in that budget. So I always didn't want to ruin my record. So I just provided information for that. And then lastly, I just have a couple items that go into closed session related to contracts.
Okay.
Can I give one more update that I just looked at my notes and I forgot to tell you guys? I wanted to just let you know our next foster parent training will be starting at the end of August. So you should see signs going out in the community. We're very excited about that. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Linda. I forgot myself.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Billy. If that's everything, then I will make a motion that we move into closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, A5 and 6 contractual and personnel issues. We will re-adjourn simply for adjournment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. We will move into closed session now.